Welcome to Whiteboard Friday, and this week we're looking at why our tax system encourages rich people to keep buying houses. Now, you may remember last week we looked at the housing bubble in Auckland and how rent yields have gotten so low that people actually might be better off if they don't buy houses right now. Let's do a brief recap of that. So let's take Sally. She's a first home buyer in Auckland. She's got $100,000 in the bank. She can use the deposit to buy a $500,000 house. Now, if she keeps that money in the bank, she'll get 3% on that, and she could rent the $500,000 property again at 3%. Overall, that's costing her $12,000 a year. Now, if she buys that house, she's paying a mortgage at 6% on the $400,000 that she's got to keep paying, and that works out at around $24,000 per year. So you can see that as Sally, a first home buyer in the Auckland market right now, she's far better off renting and keeping the money in the bank than she is buying, unless of course she can be assured of capital gain. That is a bubble situation if you're betting on house prices continuing to rise. But the maths are very different for Brian. Brian keeps buying is the answer, because the maths are very different for Brian. He's a cashed up investor. He has the $500,000 he needs to buy a house. He's currently got it in the bank. Because our tax system treats bank deposits and housing so differently, it makes a lot of sense for Brian to buy the house. Brian keeps buying. So if he keeps the money in the bank, after tax, Brian will earn around about 3% interest on that. It's not very much. It's around about $15,000. Now, if Brian uses that money to buy a house, as we see, he can rent that house at about 3% of the value and make a similar rental income as he is making with the money in the bank. Of course, he has lots of other costs, such as repairs and things like that to pay for, but he can get lots of nice tax write-offs from that as well. But the big bonus for Brian here with his cashed up investment is that any capital gain means he's far better off buying a house. In fact, Brian may decide, because that rental return is so low, he may decide that having rental people in this house, they just dirty the carpets. So why not even bother getting that measly 3% and just count on that capital gain being higher than he would have from having his money in the bank. Because our tax system treats bank deposits and housing so differently, it makes sense for Brian to keep buying.